Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Um, been putting together this one right here for a little bit in my head, talking to people about it. I'm gonna get ready to do it. It had a couple other names actually before I got to this point. The original name of this was supposed to be Low Quality Negroes in High Places. And but I thought that might have been kind of offensive to certain people, and it's not to not offend anyone, but it's to really stress what it is that we see every day, what we experience, you know, and to give life to it without giving it too much credit. I'm going to go now to the book of Ecclesiastes, to the 10th chapter. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. Give me one moment. And we're going to read every verse up until the part where in which that I'm trying to get to. One moment. And then we will just kind of, I don't know, talk about it, but we'll speak on the situation. So here we are, Ecclesiastes chapter 10. And we're gonna start verse 1, obviously, and then we'll stop, excuse me, when I've gotten to the apex of the point. Pestilent flies will corrupt the preparation of sweet ointment, and a little wisdom is more precious than great glory of folly. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. Yea, and whenever a fool walks by the way, his heart will fail him, and all that he thinks of is folly. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy place, for soothing will put an end to great offenses. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, wherein an error has proceeded from the ruler. The fool has been set in very high places, while rich men would sit in a low one. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants on the earth. Now, let's stop sharing it, because that's the bulk of what I want to talk about. I'll go back to that, periodically. But the most important thing that I can actually, throw from that. What up, brothers? How y'all doing? But the most important thing I can gather from that is what we see daily. You see, sometimes, we get caught up in this wheat and tear concept. And I think we need to look at it also on the line of those people that we see in those positions of great substantial gain or material wealth. These same people are arguably, you could say, are low quality people. They are the servant who rides a horse. And get where I'm going with this. Get what I'm getting by this. It said that fools, vile people, were placed very high up, and the rich people were placed low. So what it's saying is that your station in life, my brothers, and my sisters who will listen to this later, uh, your station in life is dictated by this very simple thing. See, it's not enough for the Most High to just say, "Well, my people are wheat and the poison is tare." He even gives here where he shows us that there is a certain brand of man and woman, we can assume, that are in these positions that would not normally otherwise be. They would be a servile person. So let's take LeBron James, for example, or Shaquille O'Neal, or any one of those. Just think of somebody famous, right on. and the more famous, the better, and a black person at that, and a more crucially, a person who fits the bill of being an Israelite. When you come at this person and say, "Hey, well, look, it seems to me that you're from a bloodline or the ilk of people who are lower quality because you have a position and a station where which you're afraid to lose your life." You see, you have to understand, uh, giving money to charity is not alms. Those aren't personal alms. You understand? And the reason why they're called vile, right, is because they do things like, well, I gave to charity. Doesn't that make me a good person? You know, the black problem, and once again, and these are black people, but the black problem isn't their problem. You see, that's those other niggas' problem. They better figure it out. And because we have this mentality amongst some of the highest ranking blacks, this is why we have this mentality. And once again, we have to go back to the initial issue, which is they are a fool, right on, in a high place. You understand? They are somebody who does not have the mental capacity to actually sustain the station that they hold. The billet that they hold is too much responsibility, literally. I give it to you guys like this. Would Bill Cosby have $1 to take away from him if he had invested his heart and soul into black people? With his heart and soul, those goes the dollars. And then if you think about a guy like Bill Cosby, then throw a guy like Eddie Murphy out there. Then throw a guy like Chris Rock out there. There's a few different characters I could name who have a lot of money, who amassed a lot more money than people would have thought, who have done nothing for black people. And these are nothing more than servants who ride horses. And therefore, I can't feel bad for them when they go down. You see, because this was a fool in the place of someone who should have never been where they were at. They would have never been there. I know this is hard for people to believe, but a guy like Ice Cube is nothing but a follower. A guy like Tupac, believe it or not, was nothing more than a follower who was coming out of a follower role to a leader, which is why they killed him. They didn't kill him because he didn't want to make music anymore and this Illuminati, whatever you guys want to call it. They killed the man because he was slowly transforming from a servant who was riding a horse to becoming a prince who was going to be in the place of a servant. You see, and he was making this transition, and they killed him before he could make that transition. There's a few different people I could name musically. The first one that comes to mind is Otis Redding that this happened to. They don't have to let you get to the level of you realizing that you were wrong before. This happened to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. These are those two men would have never been in a position ever to lead the people. Never, ever. You guys have to understand. When I speak on the servant riding the horse, the person who is really not who they, not only are they not who they think they are, they're not who they're not who they are not who they've been taught to believe they are. Okay? You know, it's okay if black people say that they come from kings and queens, but they have to consider everybody can't be from a king or a queen. It's impossible. It's impossible. It doesn't even make sense. So because we have this dynamic, we have to constantly go back and show people, hey, look, these people who are supposed to be our so-called leaders, right, are nothing more than servants who've been given the keys. They're nothing more than that. What happened with us and black people would be the equivalent of Bruce Wayne going on uh, um, some kind of cruise, luxury cruise, and leaving Alfred the keys and saying, "You're in charge," but never coming back. So when people come over and they see the mansion, Alfred might not have all the mannerisms of a true owner. Can you dig it? And he has excellent servantile mannerisms, which is why people can't really discern between the two things because their servitude, right, and their overall humility. Once again, understand because people can't discern and distinguish that this is a servile action and this is a docile action, and the difference being one you have to do because you're in a certain position. The other you're made to feel. It's all relative. What's up, brother Andre? So it's deep. The servant who rides the horse is a deep concept. And because you just got here, bro, I'm gonna pull it up one more time and I'm gonna share it on the screen what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure you know, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate what I've been what I've been talking about. All right, so here we are again. One more time. And chapter 10, verse 7, but I want to read verse 4 to 7. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy place. Let me go ahead and explain this stuff. For soothing will put an end to great offenses. So it's pretty much saying that if you piss somebody off who's of that who's of a higher echelon of society, they said, don't run off, right? Because because as I was just speaking, your humility, right? Your servitude, right, can put an end to great offenses, meaning that you can quell their anger. Number 5, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, which an error has proceeded from the ruler. Stop. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, which an error has proceeded from the ruler. Stop right there. What it's trying to say right now is that what is going on right now is not right. It is evil and wicked. Right on? And guess who it came from? The same ruler who was going to rise up against you. Can you dig it? The same spirit. Can you dig it? Come on, let's just keep on pushing. Verse 6, the fool has been set in very high places, while rich men would sit in a low one. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants on the earth. Stop right there. What it is saying to us is very simple, very direct, but still at the heart of the matter, very much what Black people are experiencing and going through right now at this very moment in our existence in this country, in this world, period. We have people who are of our bloodlines, people who are genetically related to us, who, for the sake of a dollar, who, for the sake of whatever reason, will forego what is righteous and true, will forego what is proper and good for the simple soul. You can't even say purpose, idea to be entertained. It's the wickedness that we deal with, the wickedness that we have to live next to, in proximity with, because of these type of people. One moment. So it has become a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a punishment. It's not a punishment. It's like it's a constant reverberation. That's what it is. It is literally a constant reverberation. The energy that these people put off shows us that those words from the scripture, even though I can't stand the source of information, because I can't stand Solomon, but Solomon's not lying. And I know he's not lying because he's one of the rulers that the evil proceeded from. Come on. Come on. So he only knows this because these are things that he practiced. I can't stress to y'all enough. The book of Ecclesiastes is Solomon's own way of telling on himself. Can't stress that enough. Um, I'm not even going to talk about Solomon and how he probably would have been a better servant than he was a king. But anyway, the point and the purpose is this. We have too many people, far too many, that are accustomed and used to a representation, so to speak, by and from Black people that doesn't always merit, doesn't always deserve what it is that we give it. You see, how can a person take you serious? And I'm not talking about you literally, I'm talking about the figurative term you. How can we be taken serious if we don't even look at the people who are supposed to be the leaders, the people who are placed highest up above us, you know? And some of this is our own doing, but a lot of it is the doing of the people who are in charge of the actual land. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of the people that we see who live in a lot of prestige and opulence, these are people that were placed there by society, you know. And then for the people who weren't placed there by society, for the people that we chose, that's another error. And that's an evil from our own people, from our own selves, you know, by not being willing to say that we need a real leader. You see what I'm saying? We need someone who already, we don't need a person who's going to start to understand the people. We need someone who already understands the people. And because the servant who rides a horse, who rides on the horse, has always been a servant and never been in a position to lead, right? Through humility and not through their docility, there's a disconnect because once again, being servile and being docile, right on, and being humble are all not the same. Now they may play similar roles, but they're not the same instances. And for people to once again place in the position a person who should be humble first, right? And humble doesn't necessarily make you a docile person or servitile. It doesn't at all. So, so to be meek or to be modest, right, doesn't make you docile, right? You see what I'm saying? You know, it doesn't make you passive. You feel me? And then, you know, to speak furthermore to it is the fact that we have these people who they don't want to understand. It's easier to not understand. You see? So if I say to people once again, who's a Black favorite right now? Who's a Black person's favorite? Mm. Kevin Hart. I'm not even gonna say like he's a real Black person favorite, but a lot of people, even though they try to say that they don't like Kevin Hart, a lot of people like Kevin Hart. You know, so let's look at Kevin Hart. Let's use Kevin Hart for a prime example. Nothing wrong with the man as far as I think him being a person. You know, I think there's issues that everybody has, but from what I gather right off tops, there's nothing wrong with him. But is he a leader of the people naturally, willingly? Is he normally humble? You see what I'm saying? So, or is he servile and docile? Right. You see what I'm talking about? And that's the difference. Is because the servant who rides on the horse will his his servitile nature, his docile nature, his passive nature from being so servitile will emulate and imitate humility, but it is not the same thing. And this is the issue. It's because you have a person who's not really meek, they're not really modest, in a position where modesty is almost the order of the day. You see, we don't get, I don't get to say, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't get to say because I'm poor that I'm off tops more meek than a rich person or more humble than a rich person. That's hard to argue. But I could say that because I've never been put in the position that they've been put in, and I've had people constantly try hard to keep me in a servitile role where I don't think it's being a servant that bothers me. I think it's the lack of, once again, humility from those who are higher up that bothers me because they don't practice being humble, being meek. They don't have to because they're not mentally equipped, number one, to even understand that. And then number two, this society hasn't put them in a position where they have to actually do that. You get what I'm talking about? So we're in a very peculiar position. We're in a very, very, very peculiar spot. You know, um, I can't stress enough that if the vile people, once again, let me just, I'm gonna have to leave that up for a little bit because this is really epic. This part about the Ecclesiastes. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. If the vile person is put somewhere where they really shouldn't be, what I mean, like, that's telling you everything. You know, this explains people showing mercy to their children that they know that they should die. You know what I'm saying? The for the people who raised hellions, right? Who raised real hellions and are aware that that hellion should be put to death. But are they dead? No, they're still very much alive. And on top of them being alive, this is a person now who may be in a position to control uh, uh maybe even the flow of resources going to black people. If not the flow of resources, they may be able to pull on the heartstrings of black people, you know. And a lot of folks say, well, that's not that important, and anybody can do something like that. Well, everybody actually can, you know. Um, I thought it was really, 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 really funny the other day. I was talking to this young man, and we were speaking, and the young man told me, he said, "You know what? I think if you had a YouTube channel, everybody would listen to you." I laughed so hard, you know. I just laughed so hard, you know. And I told him I wish it was all that simple. Because when you're in a role where you are made to be a servant, like myself, forced to be a servant, like myself, and for causes that you don't find righteous, as I find the situations that I, for some odd reason, I'm in too often, far too often. These things they're a good way to gauge. They're a good way not just for me to gauge myself and for me to gauge the environment, but they're a good way for you to gauge you. You see, you know, it's it's truly a blessing when you can understand that. I mean, let me just point something out to you guys, which I always thought was funny. So when we read right here, verse 5. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, wherein an error hath proceeded from the ruler. Stop right there. So the ruler, is the ruler the person who is in charge of the community, which would be predominantly black women right now? Is the ruler the father and the head of the household? Right? Do you get what I'm getting at right now? Because look, I'm about to break it down to you why the athletes and the actors are seen as so important to you, and why the doctors, lawyers, and dentists aren't. Because the rulers, you see, the people who are in charge of you in some way, shape, or form, have put them on high. Did you hear me? Let me repeat myself. The rulers who are in charge in one way, shape, or form or another of what we see, hear, breathe, eat, and regurgitate, those same rulers, and I would argue that most of them are genetically related to us, gave us over to their evil things, to the evil in their hearts, by placing these people in a position where in which they never deserved nor belonged. Low quality niggas in high fucking places. And that's the gist. And that is the gist of what I'm talking about. Garbage fucking people, excuse my language, hiding, hiding in plain sight. Garbage. Just complete, absolute, utter, worthless people. You know, it's just too much. 1 second. Screen share. I don't know why. Didn't stop sharing when I first exited out. It's all good. However, point is this, y'all. How many of you guys are in a forcible servitile role right now? How many of you guys wanted to be in a servitile role? Okay, like me, you didn't raise your hands. All right. How many of y'all have ever seen somebody who's a complete fucking piece of trash with the job that they clearly don't deserve? How many of those people have said that my uncle gave me this job, or my auntie gave me this job, or somebody in my family gave me this job, and now they're riding high? Me again. See, this is why it's so important to really speak on these things. I'm not going to get no love. Y'all already know how this goes. Y'all already know how this goes. Look, man, it's the small unit cohesion that's gonna save us as black people. Can you dig it? Our small unit cohesion right here is gonna give you the ability this week to go forward and to laugh at every servant you see on a horse. I don't mean to laugh in their face, but every time they do something stupid or they do something that you don't like, you just have to remind yourself that's a servant. That's not even a real king. They don't know. I mean, do y'all really feel me though? They literally don't know. They're a servant. Every servant's not humble and meek and modest. They may only be servitile because they have to. And that comes down to uh, uh, forcible tribute, blah 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 blah. There's a bunch of different things that could be, right? But I always assume that people people have to do things because they're told to do them. That's what I normally figure. You know what I'm saying? I normally figure that the only reason why we respect the people that are in the positions that they're in is because our parents told us to respect them. You see what I'm saying? You know, our parents told us that that person is important. I want y'all to think about this. How many more black people would think that Martin Luther King was a sellout if white people didn't call him a hero? Right, right, right. I want y'all to really think about that. That shit is huge. If they had never called him a hero, how many black people do you think would consider him what white people consider him? Anybody see my point? See, it's a blessing to have the ability to accept. Yeah, and see, but that's the point though. The servant doesn't mind doing that. No real king is going to take it up. No real prince is going to take it up. Rather die. I'd rather die would be their mentality. I don't even to me I don't see any other mentality, you know. I'd rather die. I'd rather go out than fucking play bitch for anybody other than the most high. And he not going to make you play bitch, so you ain't got to worry about that. That's my whole point that I've been getting at, y'all. Is that even when David is considered his servant, right? All of the most high servants, they don't lack the humble gene. You know what I'm saying? You know. Oh no, but yeah, man, you got to get about there, JP. You can't stay in an environment that would have you give away the best parts of you. You feel me? The most holy version of yourself, right? The most pious version of yourself, they want you to give that person up. That guy can't stay in business. You see what I'm saying? That guy can't be in business. No, 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 no. Hell no. And that's the beef. Because, like you just said, if you come to the table, they want you to bend over now. But that's the thing, though, bro, is that a real a real servant of the Most High will prepare your table in front of your enemies, you know. Yeah, and see, but that goes both ways. The I'm gonna you're right, you're right on two different levels. Let me approach both the different levels you're right on when you say that. You're right first, because the people who invite you to the table do that bullshit. They'll punish you whenever they get the chance. And then the servant on the horse who's put in the place by the ruler will punish us whenever they get the chance. Damn, 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 damn. It's vicious. It's vicious. So that's my whole point to it all. You know, I mean, I'm not done, but you get what I'm saying. But like, that's my point right there, bro. You hit it across the head. But that's what I'm getting at, is that these people are placed in a position where they should not be. They shouldn't be able to punish you or I, because they should be in the position that you or I are in. Right on. They shouldn't be able to overreach what it is that they truly don't. They have no concept in their minds of what they're actually doing. They don't know. That's why some of them can treat other black people so wrong, because they literally have no idea. They have no concept of it. You see, if they knew, then they wouldn't do. Word is bond, right? If they knew better, they wouldn't do wrong. So Because they don't do better and they do wrong, we can assume that they don't know better. The people who we have to be most worried about are not white people. No. The person you need to be most worried about is the servant on that horse. See, I'm going to drive it home with this real quick. We've all seen Django. I would assume we've all seen Django. If you haven't seen Django Unchained, you should really watch Django. And there's this part of the movie where after watching the vicious murder of a slave named D'Artagnan, they come upon what is Candyland. And as they come upon Candyland, there's this older, very withered slave by the name of Stephen, played by one Samuel Jackson. And Stephen's character is this very vindictive, angry, old head Negro in charge. And what I get at is this. Django was out of all the people who were riding horses, the only one to say something to, well, the only one to have something said to him about what he was doing was Stephen. And Stephen says something to the effect of, "Who's that nigga on that nag?" And he went through this little dialogue about how much he missed his beloved white daddy slave owner. But then he went back to asking Django, or excuse me, his slave owner boss, white daddy Calvin Candy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. He said, "Hey, who's that nigga on that nag?" And see, what that really is indicative of is, who is that servant on that horse? That's exactly right, young Martin, the Uncle Ruckus type dudes. But worse, because they're not all old guys. There's a lot of young versions of these guys. I gave you a great version earlier with Kevin Hart to be mild about some of the other black people that we could easily criticize. You know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Give me one moment, y'all. So the horse, man, is a powerful beast. But the symbolic importance of the prince being on the horse and, let's say, not being on the throne, it's because there's not enough thrones to go around, but there's plenty of horses. I could argue that the guy who drives in a nice car and lives in a big house is the same servant. It's the same person that the ruler, the evil that came up out of the ruler, right? Because they chose who they wanted to have these things. Can you dig what I'm talking about? We have to understand and truly appreciate that we are in a time with people dealing with forces whom, if they had their way and it was what they decided, all whom look a certain way and believe along a certain line while looking a certain way would all truly be treated a specific way. And thank you, bro. I appreciate that. I was just trying to use an example that we all could relate to and understand. But when these people do these things and treat it right, a very specific manner, we have to understand and know we have to accept first that these people who are putting them in charge are at best ignorant to what they do. At worst, they are the wicked people that deviseth wicked devices. That's bottom line. There is no substitute for victory. There is not one. If we are all blind, we need the one-eyed man, for he shall lead us all. One moment, y'all. Of course, bro. But that's how it's gonna be in that sort of field, man. Once you're working in a realm where you can count on your hands and toes how many black people maybe within the state do what you do sometimes, then you really have to appreciate that sort of not just position, right? But you have to appreciate, like, for example, I would still say, I would still say, like, where you're at, you're still in the servant's position. You feel me? You know what I mean? You know, you're the prince in the place of a servant, and I say this, and that's not an insult. That's giving you credit, because you're not the guy who decides how many black people are going to actually get jobs as electricians, going to get to become journeymen. You see what I'm talking about? And get to become the apprentice to learn the actual skill, craft, and trade. So because there's there's that disconnect, right? That and you saying that gives a beautiful example to the point that I'm trying to make, is that someone has allowed for you to be where you're at. You see what I'm saying? Based on someone else allowing them to allow that. Whereas you, my friend, sir, you might let every black man in. Every time you got a chance, you might promote to black men to go and become electricians, and to go and become journeymen, to understand what it is to do the trade. But because you're not in that position to hire these people, it's not a practical thing to do. Why would I tell people to go do something that might not pan out, because they might not be able to find an actual worthy paying apprenticeship? You see what I'm saying? And because we're in these types of positions, right, where even though work is very scarce for me right now, when I do get to work, it's normally worth it. You know what I mean? Like, I normally get paid, maybe not all what my time is worth, but I get paid very close to what I think my time is worth, you know, as a young man, and just being practical. And, I just feel like, for brothers who are in, you know, either good or very well paying jobs, uh, I don't knock them for being in a well-paying job, and I would never want a brother who or sister who's in a position like that to think I'm talking about them. I'm not in any way, shape, or form, and I apologize. It's taking me this long to even, breathe those words out of my mouth, but I would only contend that people who are actually above their people, like truly above their people, you know what I'm saying? If you miss work for more than 30 days, if you don't have any kind of action for 30 days, and your living situation won't change at all, 0%, your finances won't be stunted at all, 0%, everything's all good, then, you know what I'm saying? Then you could argue that you're close to that kind of person. But to even then, you know what I mean? Like, how long can a person, the only people that I put in those kinds of positions are the people who can go get surgery, take 8, 9, 10 months off. People are anticipating the comeback. Everybody's waiting for them to come back. Like everybody, like millions and millions of people are waiting to praise them again. Let's use a guy like LeBron James for prime example, where they praise him for creating a school in Akron, Ohio, for at-risk youth, which is a commendable job. But what if a guy like LeBron, with all the influence that he has, right, was able to talk NBA, MLB, NFL, MLS, and any other kind of major outlet for entertainment, right? Rapping, acting, all that stuff, or music, acting, all that stuff, right? I should say theater or drama. That'd be more appropriate. But if he had convinced them, hey, let's get these kinds of schools opened up all over the US, anywhere where there's a small concentration of Black people, especially where we can prove that those are impoverished Black people on any level. See what I'm talking about? So, because he's a servant playing Prince and not a Prince playing servant, he doesn't understand that his servitude. Once again, you're not seeing humility. You're seeing servitude. I need y'all to really get it. Okay? You can be that's why it's called a humble servant, y'all. Okay? If the two things were the same, they wouldn't put one in front of the other. They're not humble. They don't have to be. If they're telling you that their action was an action of humility, right? Yet they're in the same position that they've always been in, how humble are they? Really, I want you to really think about that. See, when Moses was in the wilderness with the people, you do understand that at any time they could have turned on Moses, at any time, but they were terrified of Moses. Literally, they were like scared to death of the dude. So nobody ever bothered him. But could you imagine if Moses wasn't a meek, humble man? He was the most meek man while he yet lived. A true humble servant. So even if Moses did things that people didn't like, they had to accept it because guess what? His modesty overrode all whatever even if you were like, bullshit, Moses, bullshit. You kind of had to accept it because he was that humble, that laid back. He was that down to earth. You get to be like, damn it, damn, Moses, damn. All right, okay, I'm gonna do it. All right. But you don't get that same feel from these men that have made hundreds of millions of dollars, that are being looked at as next potential prospect business moguls. We don't get that same understanding from them. We don't get that same vibe or feeling from them. And because we don't, it is safe to infer, it is safe to say that they are more than likely the servant who rides a horse. And we have to drive these things home. You see, I felt that this was more important than white heaven as far as what Black people need to really understand. See, white heaven is contingent upon them putting certain servants in the places of princes. See, because the servant or the prince who's playing servant, who is critical of the servant playing prince, is going to be called in this day and age a hater, more than likely. And we know what they say about haters, right? Right. So since everybody's like, forget a hater, it's going to be forget what the person who probably is making the most sense says. So says the scripture. So says if the wicked deviseth wicked devices, even though the needy man speaketh righteousness, right? That means that I could use the same analogy, right on, that there's a dusty, crusty ass servant on top of a horse that he ain't got no, on top of a stallion, a steed, ain't got no business on, and got no business riding, up to no good. Right. Up to absolutely no good. And even though you, me, and all the other lowly people say, hey man, that ain't right. Something about that ain't cool. I say, look at this motherfucking hater right here. Hating ass nigga that's mad because he ain't got this. He mad the bitches don't want him. You know what I'm saying? Mad he ain't got no money. Mad he ain't living in a 8-bedroom house, 4 cars, right? You feel me? You see what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden, because this guy's like, I don't think you need all that to be a real leader. Now all of a sudden he's a hater, right? See, once again, these are people who can't even manifest. They can't even manifest. I'm stupid. Excuse me for that. But they can't even manifest uh, 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 um, righteous behavior. They can't. It's like it doesn't exist in them. And we're asking people who don't even have in them righteous behavior, not normally, not by their own sake of reasoning. We're asking them to be our voices. You see, now this is what it really goes to. We're asking them to plead our cause. I'm gonna tell y'all why I love Kanye West so much. Because Kanye is the epitome of a servant on a horse. Kanye slowly, and it may take him the rest of his life, but he's had glimpses of this. He's shown flashes of a man who is starting to understand his role. You see, you get me? Once again, being a servant is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when you make it a bad thing. And it's even worse when you act outside of your station. The reason why I use Kanye, though, is because when Kanye told black people that they chose slavery, Kanye was totally correct. But Kanye's reasoning was totally not. So this is why a person who does not understand, who does not have the mind to lead, should not be in a position of leading. Can you dig it? That's what makes them so dangerous, because they can't perceive what it is that they do. They don't know. And because once again, everybody okays everything that they do. See, everybody's like, so that means that everybody who's a leader right now is supposed to be a servant? I'm not saying every last one of them, but I'm going to contend that the greater majority of the people that folks like to believe are these superb, excellent leaders, I would fair to say are nothing more than babes when it comes to truly understanding authority. Some of them not even babes. Some of them totally ignorant and stupid. And because they are, they bring down and diminish all others around them. Rappers are the best versions of servants who ride horses, because these are people that the rulers of the land ordain out of all the servants. Come here, you. Come here, you. Yeah. You look like you ain't brushed your teeth in 3 days. I want you. Get on top of this horse. Ride with me. By virtue, people are going to want to be where he's at, have what he has. Right. If riding a horse means he gets to have things that no one else does, or he gets to do things that no one else does, all of a sudden people want to be just like him. I'm not condoning anything that he does. I'm not excusing anything that he does. But I can totally see where a person who is a fool or thought to be a fool would be a detriment to us all. I can easily see how a person who would be thought to be, let's say, not a fool, let's just say unwise or unlearned. People are like, what is the difference? Big difference. Being unwise or being unlearned doesn't make you a fool. You know what I'm saying? And being a fool doesn't mean that you're technically unlearned. It just means that you did some dumb shit that you know you shouldn't have done. You know. Hey, sister, how you doing? So and it's just one of those things where I really do believe that we haven't had enough time as people to analyze this kind of frame of thought. It's not like the five people watching are going to be able to go and like make the world realize like, hey, yo, did you notice that LeBron, or did you notice that whoever really ain't shit? You know, did you notice that so and so blase blase really isn't who we thought they were? And it'll be by virtue. You see what I'm saying? And nothing other than virtue. When's the last time a black leader was killed? Not saying that that makes you a real leader, but when's the last time that one was even, like truly in danger? Think about that. The last time I think you could argue that an actual black leader was killed in this country, you could argue it was Tookie Williams. Wow, isn't that crazy? That the founder of a gang is is like the last great black person you could actually argue that they murdered in this country via execution. And people are like, well, he deserved to die. Did he really? What about all the other people that they granted clemency to? How many of those people actually saw the error in their ways and did the best that they could to correct it? By them killing Tookie Williams, one moment. By them killing Tookie Williams, they killed hope for a lot of young black people. You understand? They killed their hope. When that happened, when that happened, was that what? 06? I'm pretty sure that was 06. I'm pretty damn sure that was 06. Because I was in a Pacific Northwest class, right on. Pacific Northwest history. And that was Miss Pasley. Yeah, she was a white lady, but she was super duper sad when that happened, and I really, at the time, I really couldn't understand, uh, but, fucking 12 years later, right, takes that many years sometimes, and I don't think it took me that long to realize it, but I'm just saying now, 12 years later, everything in retrospect, I can honestly say that Tookie Williams is probably the last great black person that they killed in this country, murdered outright. And it was because of the impact that he could have easily had. See, it's funny because he was forced. He was forced to play the role of a servant. People are like, he was never the prince riding on the horse. I'm like, no, because the powers that be that existed allowed for that to manifest. How, you say? Because they were already terrified of the blacks living in California. Right. Because they had already showed activism in their veins and in their blood, in their bodies. So what the Crips failed to become, which was a paramilitary group that was meant that should be protecting and not terrorizing black people, because it failed to do that, and they killed the one man who just 12 years ago could have easily, with the kind of respect that he had, easily have gotten the gangs to slowly work towards that sort of direction. Easily could have done that. But when you're fighting for your life and to stay alive, you can't even focus your energy on that sort of thing. Because the most important thing at that time is your survival. So when people ask these sort of questions, like, like, or get angry with me, there's a lot of people who get mad at me for feeling the way that I feel, or for saying things that I say. They really believe that I'm totally unjustified in my reasoning, and I find that totally hilarious. It's really kind of sad, because it just shows you how far we've come, or how far we haven't come, to recognizing and seeing our enemies for who they are, and for being able to call them out when we see them doing wrong. It shouldn't be a bad thing that you say, sir or ma'am, you are not correct for what you do. Your ways are unrighteous. That shouldn't be chapter ending, book ending, we're over type of stuff. Like, that shouldn't be the finite. That shouldn't be what undoes everything. And normally it is, especially for, us black people. I can't think of a person right now, once again, who's a so-called leader of the black people who is actually doing what they're supposed to do. Can't think of one. Not one. And all the other people who want to be leaders of the black people, all they want is their money. All they want is the black people's money. They don't even want black. If there was a way that they could get black people to pay them without doing shit for black people, while still telling black people that everything is all their fault and they need to get out of this victim mindset while fleecing them for their money, then yes. Yep. However, it's not the case. It's not how it works. We're dealing with fools on full errands. Okay, did you hear me? We're dealing with fools who are running fools' errands, and they don't know that they are. They can't perceive that. You see, it's not for them to perceive that. The reason why it's not for them to perceive is because they were they were born in a station like me, like whatever station I was really born at. I have the ability to sympathize with my fellow man, to empathize with my fellow man. I'm talking about my real brothers and sisters. Whereas you have other people who they've been through hardship, they know what hardship feels like, and yet they act as if it's if they don't make it, it's on them. And it's like, and they might be aware that everybody doesn't have the mental capabilities. Everybody doesn't have the physical will or the physical capabilities. Everybody doesn't have the sheer spiritual endurance and perseverance, you know what I'm saying, to tough it out. They could be totally aware of all these things and still tell people shit like it's all on you. And on some level, at some rate, somewhere, black people have got to say, this is not okay. And you're not my representative because of that. You can't represent me because of that one thing alone, and only because of that one thing. You are not fit to represent me. And that would be more than appropriate. It would be more than fair. But black people have this issue where listening to a person who doesn't have as much as everybody else is not popular. Because they're just going to say, well, listening to him, you're going to end up broke. Listening to him, you're going to end up this. Listening to him, you're going to end up that. And because sometimes there's merit to these things, sometimes there's a little truth to these things, people are willing to overreach you, right? When they shouldn't do that, when they should just let you be who you are, when they should just let the situation truly show what it is. Let me base this out. Let me just base it out to this right here. I've got, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just off rip, I got like at least 12 to 15 first cousins I can think of, right? 3/4 of them, listen, 3/4 of them are older than me by at least a decade and a half. At least. I have just as many second cousins as that, who are, most of them are within 10 years of my age. Only a few of them are, younger than that, but most of my cousins are within, just like my second cousins, I should say, the bulk of them are actually within 5 years of my age. What I'm getting at is this. In my mother's family, in the Stevenson clan, right? You see, Dorothy Ann has a different father than everyone else, you see. So they treat her differently. Why this is important is because her children inherently were and are treated differently. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't deal with my family exclusively like I used to when I was a much younger man, and obviously in my childhood. But I still deal with my people. However, the rulers, you see, the people that are above you within your people, who set the tone and make the rules, they decided that they would choose, of my generation, several individuals who have not panned out, okay, who were supposed to lead our family, who were supposed to be the next generation of leaders in the family. Now, mind you, they could argue that I haven't done very much either. They could, to be perfectly honest with you, if you knew me and said you've underachieved so greatly and I'm disappointed in you, to a certain degree, I would have to accept that and take that on the chin. To a certain degree. Greatly underachieved as far as what people in my family feel. But what I know is different. What I know is that everything that I've achieved was by no help of them ever whatsoever. Whatsoever. You understand? All that's been achieved has been in spite of those people. In spite of the fact that they believe that my mother, because she had a different father, she wasn't really a Stevenson. Despite the fact that even though I was, oh, listen, when I say I'm by leaps and bounds smarter than all my cousins, by leaps and bounds, you know what I'm saying? In spite of all that, still nobody invested a freaking dollar in Demetrius. You know who bought his first graduation car, his first car? Only ever bought me a car? Demetrius. My mom bought me like a cell phone or something like that. You know, my dad bought me like a cell phone or something like that. But they ain't never had to, like, neither one of my parents in my adult life has ever had to cash out hundreds that I didn't have to pay back or that I didn't willingly pay back. No. But notice I didn't use the word thousands. I said hundreds. Okay. And when you have people in your family that will choose their children, because it's their child. So why shouldn't they want their child to thrive? Right? But I'm a real leader. in the aspect of I'll pick any one of you over my flesh and blood if I know that you are going to do what they won't do. It's that simple. How hard is that? But because I operate on the level of righteousness that I believe is righteousness, that I won't ever abridge. This is why I get in trouble sometimes because once again, as a what I believe is as a real black man, you stand up for your people who can't stand up for themselves. You stand up for your people who won't stand up for themselves because they're afraid. But when you choose the servant over the prince or the fool over the wise man, you get what it is that you ask for. You get foolish results. You don't get wise results. You get foolishness. You get fuckery. Do people want to hear that? No. Of course they don't want to hear that. Because what does that do? It makes it to where everything that they've done wrong in their own mind, in their own eyes, now they have to reevaluate it. How wrong was I? Was I all the way wrong? Hell, was I even wrong at all? See what I'm saying? What kind of person am I? Is what people should be asking themselves. People see black people, once again, we very rarely have a chance to we don't have a community full of people pumping out all like I couldn't think of any one community that's pumping out all the athletes or pumping out all the actors or pumping out all like it's all spread out. Certain certain geographical locations produce certain types of people, but not one area is producing them all. So when I say what I'm saying, we just have to keep in mind that the mothers and the fathers, but primarily the mothers in this case, the mothers have to be held accountable, you know, because they're the rulers and they're choosing, listen, they're choosing a person who has in them, servitude all throughout. Not that that's a bad thing, but it needs to be tempered with some humility. Right. And we are dealing with people who have chosen. If you were to ask me what the Bible is saying, I see the weak in the place of the strong and the strong in the place of the weak. I didn't say meek, I said weak. And the reason why I say that is because it uses the term of a wise man to a fool. So one of these people has true strength and the other one does not. And that would be a great explanation as to why some black people, no matter how hard they try to, no matter how humble they are, being servitile is just, they're like, cool. I'd rather just serve my God. And that's the only one I want to serve. I don't want to serve nobody else. And I sure fucking won't willingly. So it's like, that's the mentality. But we were never given that. We were given accept who they put in front of us. If you don't eat what's put on the plate, you won't eat at all. So if you don't take this representative, then you won't have a representative at all. And I mean, is that bullshit? Or is that how it's supposed to be? You see what I'm saying? I know it's bullshit, but I'm saying, is it? Is it bullshit? Or is it just what it is based on what has happened on this planet. And I'm talking about the totality of Earth's history. Or is this something that was totally avoidable? Didn't have to be this way. And because Black people as a whole failed to be held accountable, failed to want to be held accountable, won't be held accountable, that we can never actually get to a truly satisfying, what would be the word I want to use? Resolution. I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here right now asking myself the same question, like, but this like I said, this was supposed to have originally been called low quality Negroes in high places. And it was just to stress that some of the lowest quality Black people, period, no matter what you want to say, have been placed in places they have been put in positions they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be there at all. And yet they are. And yet they are. You see what I'm saying? That's a problem. That is a beef. We as a Black people have to address that beef. We have to address that problem. There are so many low quality Negroes in high quality places. High places. I want y'all to really think about Bill Cosby for a second. If Bill Cosby was really serious about trying to create militant-minded Black children, why didn't he go for broke? Why didn't he get every other Black person that was a real Black activist? Why didn't he go for broke before Martin Luther King and all those people got killed? Why didn't he go for broke before Malcolm X got killed? You see what I'm talking about? These are small questions to ask yourself. Not big ones, small ones. Because you must see that the people that are even most esteemed among us, even if I have love for some of these people, I still have to say what it is, that they were low quality people in high places. And the reason why they were put in those high places is because they were low quality. Much higher quality people have lived and died that we will never know about, never read about. They're gone. And their souls will be with the Most High in the days of judgment. There are a plethora of them. A plethora. And this is why I stand the way that I stand on this. This is why I say what I say about this. I know I'm not a popular dude, y'all. I tell Andre Wickham this all the time. I am a hard guy to get along with. I know this. When I say I know I'm rough around the edges, like, listen, y'all, like, there's no trying to tell me I'm not. Like, I really am pretty rough around the edges. I just have some really good redeeming qualities that make the rough edges not look as rough as they are. But I have some improving to do. We'll just say that. And I'm working at it. But that's the difference between somebody who knows better and a person who doesn't, is that they know that they're working at something. They understand that they have progress to make. They understand that there is a goal that they can set and obtain and reach it. And when Black people finally come to that agreement within self, where they say, you know what, it's okay to be held accountable. And it's okay to hold other people accountable. We are going to be in a much better position. Much better. I talk to you guys all the time about, doing what you can do. When you can do it, while you can do it. While we're still alive. in this life, every day that you can, that it comes to forbearance, ask the Most High to come save us. It can't hurt. It can't hurt to say, Father, will you come and rescue us? Can't hurt to say, Father, is today the day? Am I righteous enough today? Are there enough of your righteous children speaking to you today, Father? Are we in unison today? Have we reached out and grabbed that frequency? Have we actually got in tune with it? Have we found the broadband to that frequency? Or are we still off? You know, as you should, big sister, as you should, as we all should. We should ask him. We all should ask him every day. You know, and I always ask the Most High God to have mercy on me. But I tell him, I'm not. I'm not above the correction and the chastisement that's coming my way, the rebuke that has come my way. You know, let me go ahead and tell you guys this stuff right here before I get ready to end it on out. Tell you guys about this guy. So on Wednesday, I'm actually gonna go officially file the subpoena. Then next month on the 11th, I'll probably have to have the courts do a continuance for this motion for revision. Once I have them do the continuance, I'll go to court again on the 23rd, and then I'll probably try to get another extension from there because that's a readiness hearing. I'll just let them know that I'm not ready. I haven't had enough time to speak with my lawyer and to get everything lined up and blah, 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 blah. And I'm hoping that between the continuance for the motion for revision for the termination of the ERPO, I'm hoping between that and the continuance for that, because I have a court again on the what is it, the 17th or something like that. It's crazy. Yeah, I want to say like the 17th of January for down here in Tacoma. Um, um, yeah, I don't know, y'all. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's gonna work itself out. But the situation takes being honest with myself. I have to say, like, okay, well, realistically, Meech, even though you want to fight this ERPO and you want to get it off your back, they fuck around and have this bullshit on you till next July. That just means don't get in trouble till then. Realistically, Meech, you have to fight these charges and be willing to go to the box, even though the shit shouldn't even be where it's at, right? Uh, it's ridiculous. And once again, I am most definitely not riding a horse. You don't have to worry about the kind of person I am because I don't have any of the accolades. Not one of them. Not one of them. I don't have any of those accolades. You should look forward to having people who are going to actually have something to fight for, something to lose, being anything as far as representation for you. Because anybody else who has no skin in the game, they're going to treat it just like that. It's not going to be important. It won't. It doesn't matter. Y'all, I'm ending on this note right here. Give you another 180 seconds, 240 seconds, something like that. Not a full 5, though. We've got to see and realize that there is so much more than nice things in life. The finer things are the simple things. The finer things are stopping to smell the roses. See, a man of great sensibility, why would he run over a patch of flowers just because he can? Does that man have the ability to make those flowers grow back? No. So why should he destroy something that is expressing its beauty in its own way? The only way that it knows how to express itself. And this man will destroy it. I'm saying that to say this. You have people who will put within the ranks of the black man and the black woman characters who have never proven themselves, nor have they earned what it is that they have from you. Black people trust these people. Hell, love these people and give them the benefit of the doubt so much and so greatly that a lot of the time it's hard to say that they've done wrong. You can't even accuse these people of doing wrong. If you do that, you're wrong. And I'm saying that to say that the flower patch, our neighborhoods, we are the black people, we are those flowers. You understand? All right. And they put people who would normally have been the gardener right on for these flowers, somebody to tend to the flowers. They've given him a horse. And now he rides over the same patch of flowers he was supposed to tend to. What kind of gardener are you? See what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And that's where we're at is we're dealing with people who would have us to destroy ourselves by the virtue of placing someone there in front of us who is totally self-destructive in all their means and efforts. Just remember, my people, the wicked were estranged from the womb. I salute you, and may you guys have a blessed night. And I mean a blessed night. Peace out.